Driving to work this morning, I was pleased to hear that the state of Maryland is dedicating and opening a new park in Dorchester County on the Eastern Shore for Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, the uh, mover and shaker behind the Underground Railroad to begin the process of eradicating slavery in our country. Uh, we'll have this park dedicated to her life with a visitor center describing her work and the work of the Underground Railroad. I mention this today as we read this week the portion Mishpatim. Last week we were with the Israelites gathered at Mount Sinai as they received the Ten Commandments from God and heard God speak to them to establish a foundation of Jewish law and morals and ethics to establish their society. This week's portion, Mishpatim, goes further and provides the legislation required as people begin to recognize how to appropriately negotiate and do business with one another in a fair and equitable and moral way. It is always disconcerting to read in the beginning of the portion of Mishpatim these laws in which, like I said, regulates how individuals are supposed to relate with their neighbors, that the very first laws deal with slavery. How could it be that the people that were just released from bondage by God in Egypt were still allowed to own and manage slaves? How could that be? Especially us in 2016 with a mindset of how archaic and barbaric it is to even consider the right to own another human being, especially when we understand that there is still slavery in the world today, an underground sex slave trade that is rampant in the United States and around the world, and other forms of slavery still exist. How could it be that the Torah legislates that? And some see, therefore, this portion to be a key understanding of how outdated the Torah is. But at the same time, we need to understand the portion in its historical context and actually to see how it provides a measure of understanding of the evolution of law. Because at that time, 3,000 years ago, everyone thought it was moral and ethical to be able to own someone else. The Torah, though, comes along and provides a level of humanity to that process. And though the process itself is inhumane, the Torah itself, compared to other societies at the time, was much more humane. If we establish that understanding, that law is evolutionary, then though we can be stunned by reading these laws of slavery, we can still understand that it lays the groundwork for understanding that Jewish law and law in general is an evolutionary process. As our understanding of morality and ethics changes, so too the Torah can be seen as the basis for that too. Shabbat Shalom.